The Jedi Order was not as righteous as they claimed to be. For centuries they sat in their grand temple, preaching about peace while wielding weapons of war. They called themselves the Guardians of Justice, yet they followed orders like soldiers, never questioning the corruption they served. They spoke of wisdom but ignored the warning signs of their own downfall. And when that downfall finally arrived, they were blindsided, unable to accept the simple truth. The Jedi did not fall because of betrayal. They fell because they deserved to. To understand why the Jedi met their end, we must strip away the illusion of their nobility. They were not beacons of balance. They were enforcers of control. They took children from their families, erased their pasts, and molded them into obedient followers. They rejected emotion, feared attachment, and saw love as weakness. They placed themselves above the people they claimed to protect, convinced that only they could wield the Force responsibly. But power without accountability is not wisdom, it is arrogance. And arrogance always leads to destruction. The Jedi refused to change, even as the galaxy evolved around them. They dismissed those who questioned their ways, exiled those who sought a different path, and waged war against those who refused to submit. They feared the dark side, yet it was their own actions that fed it. They believed themselves to be untouchable, yet they fell in a single night. Their end was not an injustice. It was the consequence of their own blindness. Even now, there are those who mourn their loss, who tell stories of their greatness, as if they were the victims of some cruel betrayal. But history is not shaped by feelings, it is shaped by actions. The Jedi were not destroyed by some sudden act of treachery. They were given chance after chance to change, to evolve, to correct their mistakes. And every time, they refused. When the hammer of Order 66 finally fell, it was not the end of an era. It was the beginning of justice. In this video, we will uncover the truth about the Jedi Order. We will expose their hypocrisy, dissect their failures, and reveal why their destruction was not only inevitable, but necessary. This is not the story of heroes. This is the story of an institution that rotted from the inside. And by the end, you may come to see that the Jedi did not deserve sympathy. They deserved Order 66. The Jedi called themselves peacekeepers, yet they waged war without hesitation. They sat in their ivory tower, dictating morality, while wielding blades of destruction. If they were truly keepers of peace, why did they become soldiers in a conflict they barely understood? They spoke of balance, but refused to see the darkness growing within their own ranks. Their obsession with control blinded them to their own hypocrisy. They dictated rules, but broke them when it suited their needs. They demanded loyalty, but abandoned their own at the first sign of struggle. It was not the Sith who weakened the Jedi Order, it was the Jedi themselves. Their arrogance made them predictable. Their inability to adapt sealed their fate. When the time came for the Republic to turn against them, they were too lost in their own self-importance to see it coming. And the worst part is, they still believed they were the victims. They refused to see their own failure. The Jedi did not fall because of some sinister plot. They fell because they built a foundation too weak to support the weight of their own ignorance. The Jedi claimed attachment was dangerous. But what is loyalty without attachment? They preached detachment, but expected undying devotion from their followers. It was not love that led Anakin to the dark side. It was their inability to understand what love truly meant. They took children from their families, stripped them of identity, and forced them into an order that demanded blind obedience. They taught them to suppress their emotions rather than understand them. How could they not expect rebellion when they raised warriors who did not know how to process their own pain? A Jedi was expected to sacrifice everything but receive nothing in return. They were told to serve the galaxy, but never themselves. They were asked to risk their lives for a council that saw them as tools rather than individuals. Was it truly surprising that some chose to walk away? The Jedi feared attachment because they feared losing control. But in doing so, they created soldiers with no sense of self. They removed passion and called it wisdom. They erased emotion and called it enlightenment. But when the war came, all that was left were broken souls, fighting for a cause they no longer believed in. The Jedi fought for a republic that had already abandoned them. They thought they were protecting democracy, but the republic had long since rotted from within. The Senate was filled with corruption, yet the Jedi blindly followed their commands. They became enforcers of a system that had no loyalty to them. They let themselves be used as weapons in a war they did not start. They followed orders without question, believing they were still in control. But the Republic was never theirs to command. The moment they took up arms, they became pawns in a game they did not understand. Palpatine did not need to destroy the Jedi. He only needed to give them enough rope to hang themselves. He let them march into battle, let them become warriors instead of monks. And when the time was right, he turned their own soldiers against them. It was not a sudden betrayal. It was a slow, deliberate fall. And when the Republic was no longer useful, the Jedi became expendable. The moment they outlived their purpose, They were cast aside like forgotten relics. The Republic did not hesitate to execute Order 66. There was no debate, no second thought. The Jedi had already lost the war before the first shot was fired. The Jedi claimed to be above revenge, but they sought it in every battle. They claimed to be beyond fear, but they feared change more than anything. They claimed to be defenders of the weak, but their inaction allowed countless innocents to suffer. They stood on their pedestal and judged those below them, never once considering their own sins. They called the Sith evil, yet they waged war with the same brutality. They feared the dark side, yet their own actions led to its rise. They spoke of justice, but executed those who disagreed with them. The Jedi Order was not the beacon of hope they pretended to be. It was a council of hypocrites who decided morality based on their own convenience. Count Dooku saw the truth and was cast out. Qui-Gon questioned their authority and was silenced. Anakin voiced his concerns and was met with distrust. The Jedi did not encourage wisdom. They enforced obedience. They did not cultivate peace. They demanded submission. They feared the Sith not because of their power, but because of what they represented. Freedom, choice, emotion. The very things the Jedi had spent centuries suppressing. And in the end, it was not the Sith who destroyed them. It was their refusal to see the truth. The clones did not hesitate when the order was given. There was no conflict, no hesitation. The Jedi thought they were leading an army of loyal soldiers, but the truth was, they had created an army of executioners. They believed themselves untouchable, yet they fell in a single night. Order 66 was not just a betrayal, it was justice. The Jedi had played God for too long, deciding who could live and who had to die. They sent men to war without understanding the cost. They held power without accountability. The galaxy had suffered under their rule long enough. The Jedi did not deserve to fade away in peace. They did not deserve statues or remembrance. They did not deserve a second chance. Their failure was too great, their sins too deep. They had claimed to serve the Force, but they had only ever served themselves. And so, the galaxy moved on without them. The Jedi became myths, stories told to children. Their temples fell into ruin. Their teachings were forgotten. And for the first time in centuries, the galaxy was free from their influence. For the first time, the Force belonged to everyone, not just the few who thought they could control it. The Jedi tell their story as if they were victims, but history does not remember them as heroes. They were not guardians of peace. They were not protectors of justice. They were relics of a time that had long since passed, and when the galaxy had no more use for them, it did not hesitate to erase them. They deserved it, not because they were evil, not because they were weak, but because they refused to change. They had so many chances to adapt, to grow, to fix what was broken, but they clung to their old ways, even as the world around them crumbled. They sealed their own fate long before a single blaster was fired. The Force does not belong to the Jedi. It never did. It is not theirs to control, not theirs to dictate. The galaxy is vast, filled with people who deserve to shape their own destinies. And the Jedi, with their rules and their arrogance, were nothing more than a roadblock in that journey. The fall of the Jedi was not a tragedy. It was a correction, a long overdue reckoning. And the galaxy, freed from their influence, was finally given a chance to move forward without them.